Hello, my name is Sydney John, and I will be presenting on obesity and sugar-sweetened beverage consumption in the state of New York. Sugar-sweetened beverages are drinks that are sweetened with various forms of added sugar, for example, soda, fruit drinks, and sport drinks. They are the leading source of added sugar in the American diet, and frequent consumption is associated with various health issues such as weight gain and obesity, type 2 diabetes, heart disease, kidney diseases, non-alcoholic liver disease, tooth decay and cavities, and gout. Limiting the amount of sugar-sweetening beverage intake can help individuals maintain a healthy weight and have a healthy diet. Obesity is often defined as a high body mass index. As you can see in the chart, there are various labels such as underweight, normal weight, overweight, and obese. In the state of New York, 34.1% of adults are overweight and 27% of adults are obese. The aim of this analysis is to evaluate the association between sugar-sweetened beverage consumption and obesity within the state of New York. Methods. The Behavioral Risk Factor Surveillance System, or BREFIS, is a system of health-related telephone surveys collected in all states of the U.S. and participating U.S. territories. As a collaborative project with the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, the BREFIS collects data from adults 18 years and older on health-related risk behaviors, chronic health conditions, and the use of preventative services. The particular dataset used for this report is the 2016 BREFIS Public Use Data File. Data weighting was utilized to adjust for differences in conditions in addition to adjusting for non-responses and non-coverage. This method ensures that the data are equal. For the analysis, the subsample used in this report was in New York-only data. Therefore, only the state-level weights of New York were included rather than the national data. Data cleaning. Data cleaning was conducted to examine the distribution of data and identify the presence of any outliers or errors. In order to ensure that all observations of variables, even those with missing data, were included, the include variable was created. Through this method, all missing values were changed from 0 to a 1. If any extreme data were found, a set inclusion range was created. In order to not retain any data with the responses of don't know, refuse, missing, that data was set to 0. After the data was cleaned, the linear regressions were run. To begin this process, the regression model was run using the code regress, and the assumptions were checked. After any needed adjustments were made, the regression model was run again, and the assumptions were rechecked. In order to assess linearity, a scatter plot with locally weighted scatter smoothing was created to assess the unadjusted association of age and BMI. After the unadjusted model is created, the association of age and BMI was adjusted for all the other confounders. A component plus residual plot, a CPR plot, was then created to examine the linear association between the independent and dependent variable. Through the use of a plot of the predicted values versus a residual, equivariance was assessed. This plot may either produce a pattern or a random distribution. Next, normality was assessed by using the quantile-quantile plot, the QQ plot, through the qnorm command. This particular plot plots the quantities of a defined variable against the quantities of normal distribution. Results. Table 1. Of the population that consumed over seven beverages per week, the largest percent was obese at 21%. It was also found that more men were overweight than women. In terms of race, one key difference that stands out is the difference between the percentages of normal BMI and overweight as compared to obese. For both the white and other groups, the percentages of that subgroup were higher than in normal BMI and overweight, and the percentage of obese was smaller. However, in the black group, the percentage of the population considered obese was 23%, which is higher than the other two at normal, which was 12%, and overweight was 17%. In terms of education, high school graduate or less was the largest percent obese at 43%, and college graduate, the largest percent of that group were of normal BMI at 42%. For income, the lowest income bracket, the largest percent of this group was obese at 28%, and the highest income bracket, the largest percent of the population was normal BMI at 57%. It's also found that there is a strong correlation between physical activity and normal weight, and both cardiovascular disease and diabetes were both associated with the obese group. Table 2. The data presented in Table 2 includes the results of the unadjusted and adjusted linear regression. The confidence interval used was 95%, and the p-value must be less than 0.05 to be statistically significant. In terms of the primary research question, the association of SSB consumption with BMI, Table 2 displays the association. In the unadjusted regression, the only category that produced statistically significant data was the over 7 drinks per week with a coefficient of 0.43. As for the adjusted regression, both the 0 to 1 drinks and the more than 7 drinks produce statistically significant associations. The rest of the categories did not produce statistically significant data. Conclusions. The data suggests that there is a statistically significant association between having more than 7 SSBs per week and BMI. With the breakfast dataset, the highest percentage of the population that drank 7 or more SSBs per week were obese rather than the normal BMI or overweight. As the obesity epidemic persists not only in the US but across the globe, research that investigates BMI and risk factors are becoming increasingly important. Perhaps future research could investigate methods to encourage individuals to limit their SSB intake in order to make an effort to limit the increase in BMI. Proposed research intervention. According to previous research, including Cohen et al., through advertisements, people are influenced to make unhealthy choices without their own knowledge. According to Walsh et al., children are uniquely vulnerable to commercial advertisements because they are unable to differentiate information from advertisement. In 2006, the Children's Food and Beverage Advertising Initiative was created. This initiative essentially made it so that beverage companies were required to limit their advertisements aimed at children. The proposed intervention. At the public policy level, we should be banning the broadcasting of advertisements for SSBs during children's TV programs. Instead, more public service announcements, PSAs, should be created to target children and share risks of consuming too many SSBs. At the individual level, by seeing fewer SSB ads and more health-influenced PSAs, children's knowledge on the association between SSB and obesity should increase and the desire to consume these drinks should decrease. The target population will be school-age children. The goal is to increase awareness of association between SSB consumption and obesity and to limit the desire to consume SSBs. Justification. Many health behaviors are set early on in life. By targeting school-age children, there's a chance that this intervention may change their opinions and health knowledge that can potentially create a healthier future. Objective measures to assess the effectiveness. A national survey of the amount of SSB consumed weekly prior to implementation, and then the same survey should be given 6 to 12 months after the implementation of this change. Ongoing evaluation and monitoring, that annual survey to see if the amount of SSBs has changed. Also, PSAs should be updated annually to reflect changes in society in the interests of children.